You know that sharp sting when people underestimate you. Like when someone tells you, "Don't bother, we've got it handled." But what they really mean is, "We don't think you're good enough." That's the wound that started bleeding the very first Christmas I spent with my husband's family. Let me set the table, literally and emotionally. I've always been something of a baker. Not a quit-my-job-open-a-shop baker, but a friends can't stop paying cheesecakes and birthday cakes kind of baker. Whenever the weekend rolled around, so did bags of flour, sticks of butter, and eager neighbors knocking at my door with, "Could you fit one more order in?" My life smelled like vanilla extract and cinnamon. And honestly, I loved it. I had a reputation, a quiet little semi-professional career as the pie-slinging insider of my town. Long before I met my husband. My cheesecakes, oh Lord, my cheesecakes. People would fight over the last slice like seagulls around a French fry. And I had this special niche too. Cakes layered with surprises inside. Little hidden delights that came spilling out when you cut them open. Think of it as edible magic. Everyone who tried them went home grinning like kids. When I moved to my husband's hometown, I carried that craft with me. I had this dream that I could charm his big family the same way sweets had charmed mine. And right before our very first Christmas together with them, I was giddy. I'd found this local farmer, a wizened old guy with hands like tree bark, who grew the juiciest berries and sweetest dried fruits I'd ever tasted. I stocked up, imagining the masterpiece cake I'd create. Our favorites folded together into one radiant tradition. You know that pleasant buzz in your chest when you're full of holiday cheer? That was me, practically glowing as I told my sisters-in-law how thrilled I was about making the cake. Then the knife. A casual dismissive, "Oh, no need for that. We'll just get one from the store." They threw it like it was nothing, but I heard the subtext. "You don't belong, we don't want you here, your effort isn't welcome." No, scratch that. The subtext was crueler. What you bring doesn't matter. And here's the amazing part. It was always only me. If a friend wanted to bring the exact same thing, suddenly refusing would be rude. But me, I could be cut out as casually as you cut the crisp corner off a pie. I swallowed hard, smiled like the polite guest I was supposed to be, and nodded. What else could I do? I hadn't learned yet that in their family, tradition wasn't about meaning, it was about control. That year, their precious store-bought cake showed up. I use the word cake loosely, because what landed on that table was a slab of culinary crime. It was rock-hard, dense as concrete, shining under plastic packaging like it had been embalmed months before. The kind of dessert you don't bite, you test it with a hammer. Even the kids, bless their unfiltered honesty, ridiculed it. One of them actually picked up a butter knife and asked if we could saw it into bricks to build a gingerbread. No, scratch that, a bread brick house. The room laughed, but I sat there, a quiet ache in my chest, watching the cake I'd been forbidden to bake disappear into the trash alongside any chance of showing them what I could do. That was Christmas, year one. Fast forward a few seasons. My husband, God bless him, couldn't stop bragging to people about my baking. And word got around. Suddenly, my half-forgotten semi-pro kitchen was back in full swing. Orders piling in, neighbors whispering about cheesecakes like contraband, friends dropping off their kids because, could they bake with you just this once? Even my nieces and nephews, Miles' little ones, would crowd around my counter, hands dusted in flour, eyes glued to mixing bowls like I was a magician conjuring cake. Those kids, they loved it. They tasted joy. What a contrast. Inside my kitchen, delight. At family Christmas, those cursed store-bought monstrosities no one touched. It was like living in two parallel universes. The resentment festered quietly. Year after year, the same insult disguised as tradition. "We'll get dessert." And year after year, that slab of unholy sponge sat untouched while kids poked at it with forks like a science experiment. I never pushed back. I told myself, play nice, don't rock the boat, respect traditions, even if those traditions were cruelly designed to exclude me. So I smiled, complimented, and deep down I wondered why it stung so much. Why being rejected by two women I didn't even admire made my chest tighten. Maybe because it wasn't about the cake. It was about value. Being denied the chance to share what I loved most felt like being invisible. Then yesterday happened. We gathered as a family to go over Christmas plans. All of us in the living room working around a separate issue involving my in-laws. Light was fading outside. Teacups clattered on saucers. I cleared my throat, took my chance. As hosts this year, I said, "We'll handle all the food." My sisters-in-law nodded, satisfied. And then, with deliberation, I added, "And you can bring dessert." It was a small thing, just swapping responsibilities, but the air shifted. I caught something sharp in their faces, like they'd swallowed a lemon they couldn't spit out. They thought they'd kept hold of dessert forever. This was my little act of boundary setting. And then, oh, poetic justice, a child's voice cut through. The oldest niece blurted out, "Why do we have to get that awful cake every year? Why can't Auntie make dessert too?" You could have heard a fork drop. Her voice carried every bit of frustration we were all too polite to voice. My husband, trying to do damage control, explained in his steady dad tone, "Because your mom and aunt prefer the store cake." Our niece turned her head, first to her mother, eyes narrowing, then to her aunt, measuring, then back to her uncle for confirmation. And like a judge banging the gavel, she delivered the verdict. "Well, they can't even cook. They shouldn't get to pick what we have to eat." Roasted by a child. The silence was exquisite. Time slowed. My sisters-in-law flushed crimson, their mouths opening and closing like fish gasping for air. The kids' honesty had landed like a snowball to the face in front of the entire family. I had to tamp down the wicked delight bubbling inside me and intervene. Playing the diplomat, I plastered on a warm smile and said gently, "Sweetheart, traditions are important. They make people feel at home. Your mom and aunt really love that cake, and we should respect that." Out loud, I was peacekeeper. Inside, I was quietly laughing because her words planted the very seed I'd been nurturing all along. The recognition from their own children that exclusion wrapped in tradition isn't kindness, it's nonsense. That's the true revenge. Not screaming, not throwing a tantrum, not baking a cake and shoving it on the table to prove my worth. The revenge is patience, letting their own kids reject the flimsy foundations of exclusion. And the best part, that niece adores my baking. The next time she comes over, I'll bake her any dessert she wants. A towering cheesecake, a molten chocolate cake, maybe a surprise in the center masterpiece. Because being chosen by the next generation, that's the poetic justice no one can silence. So here's the lesson. When people spend years underestimating you, the sweetest revenge isn't forcing them to see your worth. It's letting time prove you right. Sometimes karma doesn't slap. It bakes slowly, carefully, in a 350-degree oven, until the aroma fills the house and the truth can't be denied. And to everyone listening right now, if you've ever tasted that bittersweet flavor of being dismissed but came out stronger, you know how good this victory feels. This isn't just a cake story. It's about respect. It's about self-worth. And it's about the fact that the loudest "I told you so" doesn't come from your lips. It comes from their kids refusing to eat their so-called traditions. Thanks for sticking through this wild ride. If you've ever had a revenge-served sweet moment in your own life, smash that like button, subscribe for more stories, and drop your own tale in the comments. Because justice is best when it's homemade.